In at number 10, Tana Mongeau. Anyone who's a fan of Tana Mongeau probably knows who her ex-manager, Jordan Warona, is. Jordan was not only her manager, he was a main part of her brand and content, and he was so close to the YouTuber that she considered him to be like a second father. But things took a turn when he starred alongside her in the MTV reality show Tana Uncensored. During the second season of the show, Tana was constantly fighting with her manager. There was even an entire episode of the show where Tana decided to launch perfume on the same day as her friend's nose surgery against the advice of her manager Jordan. She ended up missing both events, leaving her manager scrambling to figure out if they were going to launch that day or not. The entire show made her look like an unprofessional brat, and her own fans turned on her because of how she was treating her manager. At that time, the pair reconciled, but in the years that followed, Tana cut ties with Jordan and now has a new manager. In at number 9, Justin Bieber. Justin Bieber is famously managed by Scooter Braun, who has become the it guy in Hollywood for managing talent. Braun started managing Justin when he was only a preteen, so Scooter has grown up as a father figure to Justin. Scooter has opened up on a few occasions about Justin's dark past and has exposed how close to death that Justin actually was during his substance struggles. During one interview, Scooter said, quote, "I thought he was going to go to sleep one night and that he would have so much crap in his system that he would not wake up the next morning." Apparently, Braun's manipulation of Justin is what might have saved him, telling BuzzFeed News in April of 2019, quote, "Justin, when he got healthy, he was like, man, there were times where you were manipulating me that made me really upset. But now I realize you were only doing it to help me." And at number 8, Amber Heard. Kate James was a close friend and assistant to Amber Heard while she was going through her messy divorce from Johnny Depp. At first, James supported Amber's claims and helped Heard's case against Depp. But when it came to the trial, James completely changed her story and revealed the truth about their relationship. She exposed that Amber Heard was the one that was toxic and harmful to Depp, and exposed multiple examples of this during her time working for Heard from 2012 to 2015. She even exposed that Heard would talk trash behind Johnny's back. For example, once she said that she was dating an old man. Kate really exposed Amber for who she was behind the scenes, being that she spent so much time together. She didn't hold back, especially after being betrayed by her when Amber retold an intimate story from Kate's personal life, then pawned it off as it was her own to gain sympathy. In at number 7, the Kardashians. Kim Kardashian and Larsa Pippen were close friends for over a decade, until the Kardashian sisters suddenly unfollowed Larsa on Instagram, leaving everyone wondering what happened. Larsa dished about the situation during an interview on the Hollywood Raw podcast. She spoke out saying that she and Kim have a very different relationship now, and exposed some of the family drama that she's been a part of. Larsa said that Kanye had been a huge part of why she and Kim were no longer friends, saying that he brainwashed the family into turning against her after she tried establishing boundaries in their friendship, and also exposed Khloe Kardashian for allegedly stealing Tristan away from her, with Larsa saying that she was seeing Tristan before he and Khloe got together. Apparently, she's the person that introduced them in the first place. For now, the Kardashians have separated themselves from Larsa, and it's probably going to stay that way. And at number 6, Paris Hilton. Paris Hilton and Nicole Richie were the best of friends at one point, practically inseparable. They also starred on hit reality show The Simple Life together. But that all changed when it was alleged that Nicole played Paris's leaked adult tape at one of her parties for all of the guests to see. Obviously, there's no coming back from a move like that, and they were enemies in the years that followed. While this incident was never confirmed by either party, this betrayal seems to be the reigning theory as to what happened between them and why they had such a big falling out. The only time Paris really spoke about their falling out was during an interview where she said, quote, "It's no big secret that Nicole and I are no longer friends. Nicole knows what she did, and that's all I'm ever going to say about it." Based on that, it kinda seems like the rumors are true. Halfway at number 5, Drake Bell and Josh Peck. These two were best friends on and off screen when they acted alongside each other on The Amanda Show, which led to them getting their own hit show, Drake and Josh. The duo seemed to remain friendly after their child stardom ended, but it seems that they drifted apart as they aged, and both men went along different paths. Things reached a head in their relationship when Josh Peck got married and didn't invite Drake Bell to the wedding. Drake was not happy and tweeted out for the world to see. He tweeted, quote, "True colors have come out today. Message is loud and clear. Ties are officially cut. I'll miss you, brother. There was some speculation if it was about the wedding, which Bale confirmed when he also tweeted, quote, "When you aren't invited to the wedding, the message is clear." After the story went viral, Josh responded that he was deeply hurt by Bale's tweets, but he also clarified the two hadn't really been friends for years. And at number 4, Seth Rogen and James Franco. Seth Rogen and James Franco have collaborated on countless movies together. They've been friends and collaborators since the beginning of their careers. But that all changed recently when Seth Rogen stated that he is no longer planning to collaborate with Franco after reports of multiple accusations of misconduct against women on the set of his movies. These allegations started in 2018. Since then, multiple women have come forward. When asked about his friendship with Franco, he didn't give a straight answer, but said, quote, "I don't know if I can define that right now during this interview. I can say, it has changed many things in our relationship and our dynamic." In at number 3, Kylie Jenner and Jordyn Woods. This is probably the messiest one on this list, so of course I had to give you a quick refresher. Kylie and Jordyn were besties since childhood, and they grew up doing practically everything together. They even lived together as adults, and Jordyn starred in Kylie's reality series, Life of Kylie. Their friendship not only boosted Jordyn's clout, but gave her real business opportunities with the family. But that all changed when Jordyn hooked up with Tristan Thompson, Khloe's baby daddy and boyfriend at the time. The whole thing was an absolute mess, and as a result, Jordyn was cut from the family, including her friendship with Kylie. Jordyn ended up going on Red Table Talk and claiming that the interaction she had with Tristan was small, but Khloe called her a liar on Twitter and claimed it was much more. As of now, the relationship is still very tense. And at number 2, the Kardashians and Larsa Pippen. If there's one thing to know about the Kardashians, they keep their circle very small, and once you break their trust, it's over. Kim and the rest of the family have been friends with Larsa for decades, but all of a sudden in 2020, the Kardashians and Larsa unfollowed each other on social media, making it clear they were not friends anymore. After rumors started swirling, Larsa claimed nothing bad happened and it was just a falling out. However, months later, she spilled some tea on a podcast, saying that Kanye was most likely the reason for their falling out. Apparently, he used to call her at 3 and 4 in the morning and rant to Larsa, but it got too much, so she blocked him. She then insinuated that Kim had a problem with this and potentially thought Larsa was doing something shady with Kanye, which Larsa denies. And finally, number 1, Kenan Thompson and Kel Mitchell. These two became known for their hilarious sitcom called Kenan and Kel. They were also both child stars living a very similar life, so it's no wonder that they became best friends during this time. But sadly, as they grew up, their friendship did not last. In 2012, Mitchell told TMZ that Thompson hadn't spoken to him in years, saying, quote, "The truth is Kenan does not want to be seen with me in any form of media or even have my name mentioned around him. I respect his choice of wanting to make a name for himself solo." It seems that these comments actually resonated with Kenan, as he contacted Kel shortly after, and they reconciled their differences. They even became so close that they reprised their Good Burger sketch on The Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon. And now the pair work as executive producers on the All That revival, so it seems their relationship is closer than ever. Starting off at number 10, we have Christian Bale. Christian Bale is not an easy person to work with, so obviously he would be an absolute pain in the to work for. And after a leaked voice recording showed Bale screaming at his cast on a film, people finally understood how bonkers that he actually is. And his assistant Harrison Chung had such a bad experience working for him that he ended up writing a book about it. The assistant said that Bale would lecture fangirls about bothering him to the point where they started sobbing. And then another time when he received a fan letter, he told Chung the fan should be eliminated with a screwdriver thrust through the eyeball into the brain, which prevents any screaming. That was a quote, by the way, that's literally what he said. And apparently he didn't seem like he was joking either. And his stint working for the actor was so bad, he underwent 5 years of therapy for PTSD to get past the trauma that he put him through. And after hearing this, it makes a lot more sense that he regularly plays dark and twisted people. Might not be acting all that much. In at number 9, Kim Kardashian. After Kim fired her longtime assistant Stephanie Shepard, Stephanie spilled the tea on what we all want to know about working for Kim. At the time, she wrote on Instagram, "Letting go of a bad friend and self-care involves forgiving yourself for your impossible standards and knowing you are worth it." So yikes, clearly she is, talking about a certain somebody. One thing that Stephanie revealed is that Kim apparently takes 1,000 selfies a day. But also, who really is shocked? She also said she is so vain that she has a staff remove plants or objects if they're in the way of a mirror. While on holiday at Punta Mita in Mexico, Kim took 6,000 selfies on her 4-day trip. Kim is also apparently a slob. She would leave clothes everywhere and Stephanie would have to clean them up. Stephanie also said there would be old food in the refrigerator, the trash would be overflowing in the kitchen, and the bathrooms, no one would go in there. On the one hand, that's pretty gross, but Kim is a busy woman, so I can see why she would be kinda messy. Like, that's definitely not the worst thing that she's done. In at number 8, Anna Wintour. After the movie The Devil Wears Prada, Anna Wintour is probably the first person that comes to mind when talking about people who treat their assistants terribly. And Wintour was exposed by her old assistant at Vogue, Lauren Weisberger. And her time there was so bad, she made a tell-all book about it, which was then turned into the movie that we all know and love, The Devil Wears Prada. The book and the movie portrayed the editor-in-chief as pretty much being the worst kind of boss, emotionally abusive, judgmental, and demanding. Anna actually wasn't too upset about the book or the movie, with her even saying in one interview that she's okay with anything that makes the fashion industry more entertaining and glamorous. Basically meaning that she was behind the film. And even though the movie portrays her as having ridiculous demands, it also portrays her as a successful and powerful woman who knows how to get what she wants. And I'm sure Anna Wintour didn't have any problems with that depiction of her. In at number 7, Jessica Simpson. Jessica is another celebrity that's a total nightmare to work for. And over the years, she's gone through tons of personal assistants, which is never a good sign. And most of the assistants hated working for her, so after they quit, they spilled the tea on how terrible she is. One source told the Star that Jessica Simpson would dine and dash, as in she wouldn't pay the bill when she went to a restaurant. With one assistant adding that Jessica thought her stardom was payment enough. And even nastier, apparently Jessica wears a lot of hair extensions, but when she's done using them, she literally just drops them all over the place, with the assistant saying it literally looks like an animal is on the floor, and that one's pretty gross. Does she reuse those? Hopefully not. And at number 6, Courtney Love. Courtney Love is no stranger to controversy, which is clear from the scandal she has gotten into surrounding her late boyfriend Kurt Cobain. And when it comes to assistants, she is just as bad. One of her old assistants actually sued her in 2012 for not paying her, and the payment that she was supposed to make was really weird, with her getting paid $30 an hour and a full scholarship to Yale. Apparently she was also not only an assistant, but also a forensic research aide, with her even having the opportunity to work on the Nirvana biopic. But the assistant claims that not only did Courtney not pay her, she also made her work overtime, didn't pay her or the scholarship, and even asked her to do illegal tasks like hiring a computer hacker and posing as a lawyer. Another bombshell was when the assistant said that Courtney Love acted with an improper and evil motive amounting to malice or despicable conduct. Not too sure what that's referring to, but it doesn't sound good.
At number 5, James Charles and Tati Westbrook. James and Tati's falling out is probably one of the best examples of a toxic friendship. This whole bi-sister scandal from 2019 saw their entire relationship torn apart in the matter of one video. James and Tati famously had a relationship dating all the way back to the beginning of James's career, but Tati suddenly decided to cut ties with him after he posted at Coachella endorsing Sugar Bear Hair, the competitor to Tati's vitamin company. She then proceeded to expose him for his endorsement, and she could have stopped there, but she decided to also expose him for his alleged misconduct with other people as well. She claimed that James was trying to, quote, manipulate someone's sexuality, and she referenced a specific incident that went down in 2019 at her birthday party. Though James thought of Tati as some kind of parental figure, she still decided to publicly cut ties with James, thus beginning the whole Dramageddon fiasco. Their falling out and subsequent drama roped so many other people into the mess as well, and a lot of people lost friends and followers. It was incredibly messy and overly toxic. At number 4, Little Mix. On October 8th of this year, former Little Mix member Jessie Nelson released her music video for her song Boys featuring Nicki Minaj, and this ended up causing a lot of drama. After the video dropped, backlash ensued as viewers immediately started speculating on whether or not Jessie was deliberately trying to portray herself as a black woman for content, and people started calling her out for blackfishing. In the Boys video, fans pointed out that Jessie was using a lot of black-centric aesthetics, most notably a darker tan, but with this blackfishing controversy came more drama as people started looking into Jessie's past with Little Mix. Soon one of the girl group's members came forward to say that she had actually warned Jessie about blackfishing and how it's wrong, but Jessie still did it anyway, and she even went so far as to claim that no one had ever commented on it until this video came out. This caused people to take a deeper look into Jessie's falling out with the group and the toxic friendships that they had. The downfall of Little Mix became a hot topic for a while, with people taking sides, but the bottom line is that all of this ended badly for everyone and no one came out on top. At number 3, Heidi Montag and Lauren Conrad. Heidi and Lauren were the it girls of reality TV back in the early 2000s when they started in the hit show The Hills. But in 2007, their friendship ended when Heidi Montag and her boyfriend Spencer spread a rumor that Lauren made an explicit tape with her boyfriend Jason. After the rumors started spreading through entertainment news like wildfire, Lauren decided to come forward about everything and commented on her website writing, quote, "We did not make a tape. Jason and I are both shocked and hurt that people would say such horrible things about us. I can't believe that somebody would go to such great lengths to try and damage my reputation." End quote. This situation got even worse when Lauren still had to shoot season 3 of The Hills, and that season is where the fight came to a head and there was an epic fight on camera between the reality TV stars. This fight was so bad that it still triggers some people, showing that this falling out was as bad as they come. At number 2, Zayn Malik and Perry Edwards. Yes, Zayn and Perry were in a relationship, but they were friends too, at least until the toxicity came in and ruined everything. The couple had started dating in 2012 and were engaged in 2013, but things soon turned sour after, and there's been a lot of hate in the mix there too. At first, when news of their split broke, there was little to no information about it other than reports that Zayn had asked Perry to move out of the house that they had shared together. And neither one of them were really talking about what happened between them, but things got heated when Zayn retweeted a tweet that said retweet for Fifth Harmony's Worth It or favorite for Little Mix's Black Magic. Instead of vote for his ex-girlfriend's music group, he voted for her competition, and fans immediately started the hashtag Zayn has no chill. Soon enough, Perry bounced back from the breakup and said things in her song Shout Out to My Ex about Zayn. The end of their relationship was messy to say the least, and a lot of people got roped into the drama, which just fueled the negativity surrounding the whole situation. And finally, at number 1, Selena Gomez and Justin Bieber. Before Selena Gomez and Justin Bieber were a couple, they were pretty close friends. But now they're at odds after their toxic relationship went up in flames. They started dating in 2011 when they were still teenagers, and from that point they had a rocky time together. They were on and off again for a while before finally ending things for good in 2018 when Hailey Baldwin came along. People were already aware of how toxic Selena and Justin's relationship was simply because of how many times they had public breakups and makeups, but in early 2020, Selena came forward to talk more in depth about their relationship and how she experienced mistreatment. Selena said that she was, quote, a victim of certain things, saying that what she felt was emotional mistreatment from Justin. She also went on to say that it took her a long time to find strength in her experiences and to shake her, quote, victim mentality. End quote. Justin never released a statement in response, but in late 2019 he did open up about his actions in past relationships, saying that he became, quote, resentful, disrespectful to women, and angry. It's heartbreaking to hear just how bad things were between them, and the fact that they aren't together is probably for the best.
Starting off at number 10, we have Lance Armstrong. Lance was exposed by his assistant right around the time that he was being exposed for doping, right after he was stripped of 7 Tour de France titles. His assistant decided it was a good time to come clean about everything, and the assistant, Mike Anderson, told Outside Magazine that Lance came back from Europe with cash stuffed into his pants, with the cash being from sleazy races that he did under the table. Also, Lance would apparently do everything possible to not be tested by the World Anti-Doping Agency, and that's why he got away with it for so many years. And apparently while he was at Livestrong events, which were events to support other cancer survivors, he would allegedly talk badly about the event and say things like, quote, I hate these effing things. Ooh. Lastly, the assistant said he also left his wife in a very, quote, abrupt and cruel fashion, which doesn't say very good things about a person. In at number 9, Whitney Houston. The late singer's assistant Robin Crawford exposed Whitney's private life when she told the truth about her and Whitney's relationship. This was all done in the assistant's tell-all book when Crawford exposed that her and Whitney had a romantic relationship. According to the assistant, Whitney was a lesbian and everyone knew it. But again, this is just what the assistant said, not what we're saying is true. Whitney's mother, Chrissy Houston, was against their relationship, saying it was unnatural for 2 women to be that close. Even Whitney's husband at the time, Bobby Brown, did not like Robin Crawford, maybe because he felt that something more was going on. Crawford also said she was the first person to tell Whitney's mom about her drug use that ended up taking Whitney's life. In at number 8, David Hasselhoff. David Hasselhoff was well known back in the day as a classic heartthrob, known for his roles on The Young and the Restless and Baywatch. watch. And he was even so popular that, fun fact, he actually used to hold the record for the most watched man on television, which is crazy. I didn't even know that was a thing. But it seems that his days of being a ladies' man are not over, and I don't blame him at all for that. You know, do your thing, Hasselhoff. But the issue here for the assistant is that one of his old assistants exposed that he actually makes the assistant go up to the women he's pursuing and ask them out for Hasselhoff. This is in the form of the assistant giving the women one of Hasselhoff's business cards, and I don't know if that would impress me. Like someone asking me out on behalf of someone. That could really go like two ways. I don't think I'd like it very much. I'd be like, what do you mean, ask me out yourself, Hasselhoff? I don't know. And at number 7, Ariana Grande. Ariana Grande is known for many things, and one of them is the fact that she's been called a diva by fellow celebrities. One of her diva-esque traits is that she likes to be carried around after a long day of walking. And since she's so small, it's probably not a very difficult task for the right assistant, but it's definitely a strange one. And this rumor got so big that Ariana had to address it, and she ended up confirming it to be true. This was in the form of an Instagram post, where the caption was, quote, "Jones carrying me off stage. Post show ritual when my feet are broken." She also joked about it some more with James Corden in a bit they did where James carried her to a Starbucks while she was ordering her drink. Of course it was a grande drink. And at number 6, Martha Stewart. Martha Stewart is a very busy and meticulous woman, so obviously she's quite a handful for any assistant. But she knows it and doesn't really care, with Martha admitting in a blog post that she keeps her assistant incredibly busy, with organizing in particular. One task that her assistant had was organizing all of Martha's cosmetics into labeled clear plastic tubs in her basement dressing room. Martha explained it in detail in the blog post, explaining the assistant removes items from the bins and recategorizes every item, reevaluating what is still usable and throwing out expired items. And obviously that entire system seems like a total pain in the ass, especially if Martha makes her do that for all the rooms in the house. But also if you're an assistant for Martha, I mean, you better expect a lot of housework. Like that is one person, I would not be Martha Stewart's assistant because whatever I do would not be good enough. I swear, she can't even have it. I feel like she would have to be her own assistant. She's so meticulous about everything. Halfway number 5, Sharon Stone. Stone was sued by her former nanny after that nanny accused her of violating labor laws. The nanny also claimed that Stone made derogatory comments about her ethnicity. The nanny is of Filipino heritage and claims she was, quote, repeatedly subjected to numerous derogatory comments and slurs by Stone related to her Filipino ethnicity and heritage, mainly during her last 6 months of employment. These comments were allegedly relating to the nanny's accent. Apparently the nanny was told not to speak so Stone's kids would not develop an accent like hers. Stone denied the claims and said it was, quote, an absurd lawsuit with made up and fabricated claims filed by a disgruntled ex-employee who's obviously looking to get money any way she can. But only 1 year after this suit, Stone was sued by another employee, her then maid Angelica Castillo, for, quote, wrongful termination.
At number 4, Lady Gaga. Lady Gaga is one of the most famous singers out there, so you know that she makes a lot of money, but even with all of her riches, apparently she wanted to keep a lot of it for herself and not pay her staff. Back in 2011, Gaga was sued by a former assistant who claimed that the singer had cheated her out of her overtime wages when she worked alongside the singer for 13 months from 2009 to February 2010. According to the assistant, they were supposed to earn a flat rate of $50,000 annually in the first year, and in the second year of working for the singer, that rate was bumped up to $75 grand. It's still a good paycheck, but the assistant claimed that she never got her bonus overtime pay despite the fact that she had to work and be on call 24/7. Though the case was supposed to go to trial in 2013, they ended up coming to a settlement agreement before they ever entered the courtroom.
And at number 3, Celine Dion. In 2012, Celine and her late husband were sued by their former handyman, Keith Sturdivant, for unpaid wages. This handyman worked at their Florida compound and performed duties like cleaning shutters, repairing appliances, and running errands. The lawsuit goes on to allege that Dion improperly and illegally designed Sturdivant as an exempt employee, which allowed them to avoid paying him overtime, which he is rightfully owed. Because of this, he is suing for unpaid back wages that he was entitled to during employment. At the time, he said others were also not paid what they were owed, so it wasn't clear if other people might be joining him in the suit. The suit was later settled for an undisclosed amount.
At number 2, Courtney Love. In 2012, Courtney Love got into some serious drama with one of her former assistants, and it got pretty ugly. Courtney's former assistant filed a lawsuit against the singer seeking wages, expenses, and punitive damages for, quote, wrongful firing, wage and overtime violations, false promise, breach of contract, negligent and intentional misrepresentation, and intentional infliction of emotional distress. The assistant had nothing but negative reviews for having worked for Courtney, and she was prepared to tell the whole world about it as she was planning to publish an expose about her time with Kourtney. In a copy of the book Proposal, this expose promised all kinds of inside knowledge about the celebrity, including details about how she is a quote, alleged hoarder, media manipulator, and drug user, end quote. Nothing ever came of this book, I don't think, and I'm not quite sure what happened with the rest of the case, but I for one would have loved to know what this assistant had to say because I have a feeling it would have been very juicy.
And finally at number 1, Charlie Sheen. Back in 2015, Charlie Sheen was sued for $1 million by a former staff member named Keith Fitzgerald. When Fitzgerald was originally hired in 2013, he was offered a 3-year contract with a salary of $300,000, medical benefits, and 20% incentive bonus as well. He was supposed to work for 3 years but was fired after only 5 months. Because of this inconsistency, the staff member sued for premature termination. Allegedly, Sheen didn't pay for any of his work either. The lawsuit said in part, quote, Fitzgerald's employment relationship was prematurely terminated after approximately 5 months without any explanation. Fitzgerald received no compensation whatsoever for any of the services he performed for Charlie Sheen at any time whatsoever. Sheen denied the claims and called the whole thing bogus, but the suit was later settled for an undisclosed amount. And at number 10, Drake and Kanye West. Drake and Kanye started off as friends and collaborators. When Drake was coming up in the industry, Kanye helped him a lot. He produced some of Drake's early hits, as well as even directing one of his music videos. But things all changed when Pusha T exposed that Drake had a son that he was hiding from the world. And Drake assumed that Kanye was the person that gave Pusha that information. The two feuded on and off, but their feud reached new heights with the release of their albums Donda and Certified Lover Boy. In the lead up to the releases, Kanye threatened Drake in a group chat and leaked his address after Drake called out Kanye on a Trippie Redd song. Both albums are released, and as of now, Kanye has the number 1 on the Billboard charts, while Drake broke Spotify and Apple Music's single-day streaming record. And at number 9, Jennifer Garner and Mark Ruffalo. It might be hard for some of you to believe, but Jennifer Garner and Mark Ruffalo were actually besties at one point in time, and I guess they proved that men and women can be good friends too. According to Ruffalo, while shooting the film 13 Going on 30, he and Garner became very close. They were talking a lot and becoming best friend status. That was until Ben Affleck came into the picture. After Jen and Ben started getting serious, her friendship with Mark Ruffalo started to dwindle. We're not sure if it was a natural thing or if Ben Affleck was uncomfortable with how close they were. When asked by a fan if he and Jennifer were still friends, Mark said, quote, "We had a great time together and I think we would have, but then Ben came on the scene and that was the end of that." So clearly he's still a little salty. And at number 8, Leighton Meester and Blake Lively. These two were co-stars on the hit show Gossip Girl, and since they played best friends, it's natural that they became close in real life. But it seems their characters' fate matched their behavior in real life, and the two became frenemies fast. Apparently, the relationship between them got tense during the last 2 seasons of filming. But the last straw between them was when Blake did not congratulate Leighton on her engagement to Adam Brody. After this, they basically didn't speak again. It was so tense their co-stars even commented on it. Chase Crawford said about the ladies, quote, "There are obviously always little dramas. You're on set for 16 hours, so people get irritable. In any workplace, there are always little things and frustrations." And at number 7, Demi Lovato and Selena Gomez. These two became friends when they were toddlers acting on Barney and Friends. As they grew up, they stayed friends because they were both becoming Disney stars. But their close relationship turned to jealousy fast because they were both competing for essentially the same spot. Other friendships also got in the way, notably the relationship between Selena and Taylor Swift, which Demi did not approve of. This led to the pair unfollowing, then re-following each other on countless occasions, although it did seem that most of the animosity was coming from Demi. It seems that Selena has tried to stay cordial with Demi, and she has publicly supported Demi on a number of occasions, but Demi has not done the same back. A few years ago, a Finsta belonging to Demi was found that bashed Selena on multiple occasions, but apparently that turned out to be fake. As of now, it's hard to know where they stand, but it's safe to say they are not friends. And at number 6, Biggie and Tupac. These two rappers signified the great divide between the East and the West Coast of America. However, before they were feuding, they were actually good friends. These two were the biggest names in the 90s, and Tupac even supported Biggie while he was coming up in the industry. Biggie said, quote, "We just clicked off the top and were cool ever since." But things got tense between them after Tupac was called to a New York studio and was robbed and shot 5 times. He thankfully survived, but he was sure that Biggie was involved. However, Biggie vehemently denied this. Over the years, the West Coast versus East Coast divide got even deeper, and the pair were bad-mouthing each other in the press and in their music. Things between them were never reconciled because both men were killed in drive-by shootings months apart from the other. Tupac was shot first, and many believe that Biggie was actually involved. Halfway number 5, Christina Aguilera. Christina Aguilera definitely is not even close to the worst on this list, but her request might be the most uncomfortable. Apparently when Christina was married to her ex, Jordan Bratman, they were pretty adventurous in the bedroom, and they would role play a lot, with both of them dressing up in costumes. And I truly could not care less what you want to do with your spouse in your own bed, that is nobody's business. But it was the business of her assistant, who apparently was tasked with picking up all of the clothes and costumes off the floor. And I would definitely be using gloves or like a tong if I was forced to pick that up. Yikes, probably both. In at number 4, Khloe Kardashian. Khloe Kardashian had me really fooled. This whole time I thought she was the perfect housewife, with her house on keeping up, always being perfectly clean, and with her pantry being essentially a work of art. But apparently, that's all a lie. Even the coveted Oreo jar. And her assistant is really the person that makes that all possible. One of her assistants told Radar Online that Khloe didn't lift a finger, and one of the main jobs of her assistant is making sure that the house is spotless at all times, so it looks perfect on camera. Even down to having the perfect number of cookies in her cookie jar. And even though this really isn't that insane of a request, I'm mostly just shocked because I really thought Khloe did it all herself. But Khloe definitely did have her diva moments, and allegedly if the food wasn't displayed the way that she wanted, Khloe would dump it upside down and make them do it all over again. And if that's true, that's next level. In at number 3, Ryan Gosling. Based on the characters that he plays, it would be easy to assume that Ryan Gosling is the perfect guy. He's always playing the charming and handsome guy next door that sweeps you off your feet. But when he isn't acting, he's apparently super strange. And although there's no horror stories of his assistants getting treated horribly, there are some stories that will just make you think twice about what he does behind closed doors. One random fact is that he likes getting waxed. Like, he likes the feeling of getting waxed. And as a person who has waxed my eyebrows for my whole life, I can tell you that it hurts. So that is definitely very crazy. Also, one of Ryan Gosling's housekeepers famously claimed that he walks up the stairs on all 4s. Okay? And he also sleeps upside down in bed, allegedly, with his head actually at like the foot of the bed. So clearly, he might have some skeletons in his closet, because that's some weird stuff. Like, there's gotta be more. In at number 2, Selena Gomez. Selena is again another celebrity that really isn't that bad, but a former assistant exposed her for being quite the slob, which is a little hard for me to believe honestly because she always seems like so prim and proper, but I guess that is the Disney machine in action. But according to her assistant, she leaves her dishes lying around, and in the assistant's words, she quote, has a lack of respect for other places and can completely trash a hotel room in less than 24 hours. And the worst part for me is that she apparently leaves makeup stains all over her bed and sheets because she doesn't wash her makeup off. And like, how can you be a celebrity and not wash your face? Like, if the whole world is looking at you, that's even more of a reason to make sure you have a really good skincare routine, come on. Hopefully she's learned from then. She'll also leave food wrappers all over the place, she doesn't clean up spills, and she also leaves her undies lying around for her assistant to pick up. So she's either very, very busy or very messy. Maybe a bit of both. And in at number 1, Naomi Campbell. So I didn't know this before doing this video, but apparently Naomi Campbell is a nightmare on set. And there are tons of documented cases of her just being terrible. And that attitude also translated to her assistants, which she treated horribly. And the most famous incident of this terrible treatment was when she threw her phone at one of her assistants, Amanda Brack. And yikes, that is like on another level. Amanda spoke more about everything when she made an appearance on the Tyra Banks show, saying that Naomi attacked her at least 3 times, spat in her face, and even cut up her passport and threw it in a swimming pool. And like, why a person would ever do that is truly beyond me. Like, what? She also spilled the tea on the phone incident, saying that while Naomi was stressed about flights and luggage, she slammed the phone into her face. And Naomi's hairdresser intervened and basically saved Amanda. But that was not her only nightmare interaction with an assistant. Amy Castaldo also speaks of how she was subjected to horrible treatment, and she endured things like headbutting, biting, pulling her to the ground by her hair, and calling her degrading names. And apparently the phone throwing thing is something that she does like pretty often, and she's also hit a former housekeeper in the face with a phone too. And wow, this woman is an absolute nightmare.
At number 10, Amber Heard and Kate James. Amber Heard lost a friend due to her actions towards Johnny Depp and her disregard for others. The actress's former friend and assistant Kate James exposed her for her hurtful actions on multiple occasions. During the libel case between Johnny Depp and the Sun publication, we saw testimonies from several people who were close to the couple, but none came close to that of Amber's ex-assistant Kate James. Kate went on record and said that Johnny was mentally and physically hurt by Amber during the time that she worked with her between 2012 and 2015. She also went on to disclose how the beginning of Amber and Johnny's relationship went, saying that Amber would, quote, speak in disparaging terms about him and would say things that she was, quote, dating an old man. Kate also went on to expose how Amber would copy Johnny's lifestyle. She commented on the fact that upon beginning their relationship, Amber would start behaving weirdly in comparison to her true personality. She also went on to say that Amber, quote, went through an odd change that almost morphed her into a version of death. Kate really exposed Amber for who she was behind the scenes, being that they spent so much time together. She did not hold back, especially after being betrayed by her when Amber retold a traumatic story from Kate's life and pawned it off as if it was her own. This friendship was super toxic and ended badly. At number 9, Gwyneth Paltrow and Winona Ryder. Gwen and Winona were once really good friends, and they were seen out tons of times and even lived together at one point. They were two peas in a pod, but everything ended because of their competitiveness when it came to a Hollywood role. Apparently, both of the ladies auditioned for the lead role in Shakespeare in Love, but Gwyneth ended up snagging the role, and then even went on to win Best Actress at the Oscars for the role. It was a big victory for Gwen, but a gut punch for Winona. Then years later, when Winona was going through some rough times and she was busted for shoplifting, Gwen took a dig at her, writing in a newsletter saying, quote, back in the day I had a friend of me who was pretty hell-bent on taking me down. I restrained myself fighting back. I tried to take the high road, but one day I heard something unfortunate and humiliating that happened to this person, and my reaction was deep relief and happiness, end quote. They were so close, but Hollywood just got the best of them, and the toxicity of the industry took them down. Before we carry on talking about those celebrity friendships that crashed and burned, I just want to take a quick moment to ask you guys to consider leaving a like on this video if you're enjoying it so far, and also consider subscribing to the channel to see more videos like this one. At number 8, Taylor Swift and Kim K. Here's a case of on and off again frenemies that just got really messy. So back in 2016, there was some beef between Taylor Swift and Kim Ye. Basically, Taylor said that she was really upset about some lyrics that Kanye had included in one of the songs that he had released at the time. She told fans that she never heard those lyrics and that she never approved of them, but Kim sensed something a little fishy about Taylor. The singer and their Kardashian West had only just reconciled after the whole VMA debacle, but it seemed like their friendship wasn't built to last since Kim decided to expose Taylor for lying about the lyrics. Kim shared a video that she had secretly recorded of Kanye on the phone with Taylor sharing lyrics to his song, and when he involved her name in them, she said it was a compliment and that she approved, even calling him a friend for sharing. Kim doesn't always get involved in Kanye's drama, but when she does, she has receipts and you know she's gonna share them. On top of that, Taylor obviously made a song about their friend breakup and dished about the whole situation, so I guess in a way they both betrayed each other. At number 7, Paris Hilton and Nicole Richie. Paris Hilton and Nicole Richie were the best of friends at one point, practically inseparable, but everything changed when the Fire Nation attacked, and by the Fire Nation, I mean Nicole. Nicole decided to allegedly expose Paris and play her adult film at one of her parties. Their friendship pretty much crashed and burned at that point, leaving the two of them at odds. While this incident was only speculation and rumors, and it was never confirmed by either party, this betrayal seems to be the reigning theory as to what happened between them and why they had such a big falling out, because they stopped speaking to each other and they were no longer seen in public together, and something serious had to have happened for these BFFs to have such a falling out. The only time Paris really spoke out about her breakup with her bestie was during an interview where she said, quote, "It's no big secret that Nicole and I are no longer friends. Nicole knows what she did, and that's all I'm ever going to say about it," end quote. At number 6, Kim Cattrall and Sarah Jessica Parker. When Sex and the City was at its peak, everyone just pretty much assumed that the leading ladies were all best friends because they looked so close on TV, but we found out later that this was definitely not the case. After the third movie was taken off the table because of Cattrall's refusal to do the film, this is when the truth of the matter started to show. But the feud really came to a head after Cattrall's brother passed away, and Sarah Jessica Parker wrote a message of condolence to her former colleague on social media. Cattrall was not having it and clapped back to Sarah Jessica Parker's message by writing, quote, "Your continuous reaching out is a painful reminder of how cruel you really were then and now. Let me make this very clear. You are not my friend. So I'm writing to tell you one last time to stop exploiting our tragedy in order to restore your nice girl persona." End quote. This made it clear that there was a lot of built-up tension between them. Cattrall has addressed the fight numerous times, saying that the mean girl culture of the show is really what destroyed it.
Halfway through at number 5 is Courtney Love. The singer had an assistant named Jessica Labrie who ended up suing her for her behavior and missed pay. Some of the claims released in the lawsuit were very shocking that it almost seems too crazy to be true. Like, you just never know if this stuff is made up or not. According to the Rolling Stone, Jessica claimed that Courtney, I quote, acted with an improper and evil motive amounting to malice or despicable conduct. She went on to say that she worked over 60 hours a week without overtime pay, and even claimed that she was asked to hire a computer hacker. Reports say that she was forced to send a false legal correspondence at one point. Jessica also said that Courtney had promised to cover her Yale tuition if she signed on to work for her, but then she never paid it. In 2012, she filed for wrongful termination, non-payment, and breach of contract. Her lawsuit was asking for up to $400,000. It wasn't until 2014 that they reached a settlement and both parties filed a motion to dismiss the case. Rolling into spot number 4 is Lindsay Lohan. There was a point in her career when she was being titled the wild child of Hollywood, and during this time, Perez Hilton spilled a story about her and her personal assistant. Perez Hilton is the most famous celebrity news blogger in the world, but oftentimes his stories are up for debate, so we really don't know if this one is true. But according to him, Lindsay once kicked her personal assistant named Gavin Doyle out of a car right after he bailed her out of jail. After Perez spilled the beans, Gawker also added to this story and reported that Lindsay had actually tried to blame a car accident on him earlier that day. She had told the police that he had been driving the car when it crashed, but it was actually her and she was charged with a DUI. So he bailed her out of jail, and then that's what he gets in return. In the 3rd spot is David Beckham. I know us ladies are very upset right now because we thought that he was one of the good guys. Turns out that claims of bad behavior were brought up against him by his former PR assistant Rebecca Luz. But their story is a little confusing because she had also claimed that she had an affair with David while she was taking care of his children. It was back in 2004 when she made headlines after she sold a kiss and tell story to the newspapers and claimed that her relationship with David had become intimate despite the fact that he was still married to Victoria Beckham. She revealed all these juicy details to a British journalist, but claimed that she felt used by David and that the relationship made her feel dirty. Beckham denied all these claims, so we're still not sure who to believe on this iconic story, but no other reports have come out that he treated employees badly, so... Taking over the number 2 spot is Sarah Jessica Parker. She seems like a genuine and kind person, but for some reason she comes off as a complete psychopath when it comes to dealing with her staff members. But this is only because an anonymous former assistant came out with claims that Sarah had ridiculous demands when they were her assistant. These are some of the claims that came out. Apparently, she had really strict instructions on how everything in her house is used and presented. Her staff had to refill a 1.75 ounce container of Vaseline with a small spoon or knife for her children to use. The refill jars must not be too big, and the cutlery must be hand washed using a paper towel and then put in the dishwasher. Apparently, her staff members also had to check the levels of her house products daily and only order a new product once it was completely run out. Now, these claims are coming from someone anonymous, so they could be totally untrue. Plus, in 2014, she was a bridesmaid to one of her assistants. So is she really that demanding? I don't know. Earning the number 1 spot is Taryn Manning. This one is by far the worst story I've read about a celebrity and their personal assistant. The Orange is the New Black actress could have ended up behind bars for some of her violent behavior towards an old staff member. She was once facing charges of misdemeanor and assault after punching and choking her personal assistant, Holly Ann Hartman. According to Taryn's lawyer, the two of them had a late night argument that turned into a physical altercation. Apparently, the two of them had been working long hours when the actress attacked her assistant. But her assistant later decided that she would not pursue the case any further, and many people think it was because she too would be at fault since they were both throwing punches. But in the end, Taryn was court ordered to stay away from Holly Ann from that moment on.
At number 10, Mariah Carey. Mariah Carey isn't the nicest person ever. We already know this. She's had run-ins with the paparazzi which have not gone over well. She's had some bad relationships with others. She's known for being something of a diva. The theme here is that Mariah doesn't really treat people with the respect that they deserve, and this is probably why she's been sued for this kind of thing before. There was a lawsuit from one of Mariah's former assistants that claimed that the singer peed on her, ridiculed her body, and called her some pretty rude names. Her former assistant said that she was hired by the singer to be on call 24/7 and assisted both Mariah and her manager. Though she was paid a salary of $250,000 a year, this wage couldn't cover up the torment that she sustained from Mariah. But her case wasn't the only one up against the singer at the time. While this case was being disputed, Mariah had just settled one with her former manager, which cited breach of contract, harassment, and unpaid wages. It seems like though she pays her people well, she doesn't treat them as well as she should. Many other employees have had similar horror stories, which just shows that maybe working for the Queen of Christmas isn't as holly jolly as you might think.
And at number 9, Christian Bale. Christian Bale is definitely the person I would want to work for the least, because he uses intimidation and threats of physical harm towards his assistants. One of his former assistants had such a bad experience working for the star, he actually wrote a whole book exposing him. The book's called Christian Bale: The Inside Story of the Darkest Batman. It was an inside look into the negative experiences the assistant witnessed while working for him. Apparently one time fans approached Bale for an autograph, but they ended up running away crying because of how mean he was. Another time Bale got fan mail sent to his home, and Bale told the assistant that the fan should be quote eliminated, adding quote, a screwdriver thrust through the eyeball into the brain prevents any screaming. Let me know how it goes. Things were so bad the assistant was diagnosed with PTSD afterwards.
At number 8, Naomi Campbell. Supermodel Naomi Campbell has been in the fashion industry for over 30 years. Over this time, she's had her fair share of scandals and feuds which have painted Naomi as the industry's mean girl. She's known for having had violent outbursts, and Naomi has been accused of being violent on 11 occasions and has been convicted of harming others 4 times. Some of the reported violent incidents include the model physically harming her assistant, grabbing her by the throat and beating her with a phone, harming another assistant and allegedly holding her hostage, throwing her phone at a housekeeper, and other accounts of emotional and physical distress. Out of these incidents, the model has been sued on multiple occasions, and they all mostly just settled out of court, but she was required to take an anger management class on top of all of her payouts. There's been some things that have been covered up, but luckily these days Naomi doesn't seem to be harming others like she used to and has moved on from this dark time.
And at number 7, Kim Kardashian. Kim Kardashian was sued by 7 former staff members in May of this year. The employees claimed that they were not paid enough or given breaks while employed at her California home. The lawsuit claimed that the staff never received pay stubs and weren't paid on a regular basis. They also were not given any breaks for meals or rest, and they weren't paid for all the hours they worked, along with other issues regarding compensation. But Kim claimed this was not true and that she was not responsible for paying these employees. Apparently they worked for another company and were paid through this third party. Kim's spokesperson said, quote, Kim is not party to the agreement made between the vendor and their workers. Therefore, she's not responsible for how the vendor manages their business.
At number 6, Marilyn Manson. This year, a lot of dark information came out about singer Marilyn Manson. Multiple women came forward recounting their awful experiences with Manson, saying that the singer had harmed them severely. Some celebrities were part of the group of people who spoke out against the singer, but on top of that, one of Marilyn's assistants has also spoken out against the singer and even filed a lawsuit against him for having endured so much while working for him. The singer's assistant claimed that he had tried to kiss her, touch her inappropriately, and even made her work 48 hours straight. It was also claimed that Manson lured his assistant into working for him with promises of quote, artistic collaborations and creative opportunities. End quote. The assistant said that she lived in constant fear of one of his violent outbursts, and she said that she felt used, comparing herself to a piece of meat. To think that any of this happened to the people affected by Manson's actions is absolutely heartbreaking, and justice needs to be served.
Halfway number 5, Garth Brooks. Country singer Garth Brooks' former assistant, Lisa Sanderson, who worked for him for 20 years, not only exposed the star, but also sued him for close to $500,000. Saying in the suit that he was quote, paranoid, angry, deceitful, and a vindictive man who will turn against those closest to him on a dime. Yikes, so clearly she's not very fond of him. Apparently the assistant also claimed that she tried to get him a career in TV and movies, but his demands were so insane that it never actually happened. With one example citing how he would refuse to work with anyone because he didn't want to share the limelight with other stars. Even saying that he refused a role in the massive movie Twister because he didn't want to be outshined by the tornado. Brooks' lawyers of course denied these claims, but with accusations as insane as that, I don't know how that could be made up. Like, how can someone make up that he was afraid of being outshined by a tornado? That's gotta be true, right? And at number 4, Robert De Niro. Robert De Niro actually might be one of the worst cases of treating an assistant terribly, as there's proof of it happening. The actor was actually sued for $12 million for gender discrimination by his former assistant, Graham Chase Robinson. The assistant claims that De Niro made abusive and sexist comments to her, and even would initiate unwanted physical contact. And this treatment was not just allegations, there was actual proof of it on a recorded phone call. In one call, De Niro berated her for not answering, and the audio is shocking. The lawsuit also claimed that one of the reasons she was paid so little was because she was a woman, with De Niro telling her that she could get pregnant using sperm from a married male co-worker. She also claimed that he would meet her only by wearing bathrobe or pajamas, and then asked her to scratch his back. So much wrong with all of that. And at number 3, David Beckham. This one is a case of an assistant exposing their employer cheating. But in this one, Beckham was allegedly cheating with the assistant. Back in 2004, the assistant, Rebecca Luz, said in an interview that she had an affair with David Beckham. Allegedly, the affair began with flirting and texting and gradually developed into a bond. But after a while, the relationship was purely physical, which made her feel dirty and cheap. Beckham vehemently denied the claims, and clearly Victoria Beckham didn't believe the claims, or they were able to work it through, as the couple is still together and happily married. And at number 2, Sandra Bullock. Sandra Bullock's personal life is pretty private, so it's hard to know what kind of boss that she would be. But based on accounts from her past assistants, she can be a bit of a nightmare. One strange request is that her assistant must always make sure the curtains in her home are kept closed at all times. Sandra's also known to have a pretty bad temper when things don't go her way, and unfortunately she takes that out on the assistant. According to one witness, while they were standing in line for a coffee, she berated her assistant for being 5 minutes late. And obviously, there's two sides to every story, but based on that, brief description, seems like a bit of an overreaction, if I do say so myself. And at number 1, Taryn Manning. Taryn Manning is another person who was absolutely awful to her assistant, and it was so bad it had to be handled in court. The former assistant Hillian Hartman reported that the actor was physical with her multiple times, and Manning was later ordered to stay away from the assistant after the two had a vicious brawl at the Dream Hotel in New York that left her assistant covered in bruises. According to a lawsuit that was filed, Manning choked and punched her personal assistant and whipped her with a wet towel. She also sprayed Windex in her eyes and mouth. And of course, after doing something like that, you're gonna feel the wrath of the law, as you should. And Manning was charged with misdemeanor assault and choking. Very, very rightfully so. That is, like, what? I don't even know how a person could do that to another person. I don't understand celebrities. Starting off at number 10, we have Lena Dunham. So obviously Lena Dunham was incredibly busy on the set of her show Girls, as she was the creator, writer, director, producer, and she's the star of the show. And I can understand that when you're frazzled like that, you might not be able to schedule breaks to eat. But as a solution to that problem, Lena Dunham makes her assistants feed her. Like, she'll be on set with way too much in her hands, so while she's reading a script or something, her assistant will be holding the food that Dunham is eating. In one photo of this taking place, Lena is getting fed a quesadilla by her assistant. And for me, that is just so gross on so many levels. And handheld food is definitely a no-go from me, especially with Corona now. The thought of literally eating food that someone was just touching is absolutely revolting. And at number 9, Paris Hilton. Of course, Paris Hilton just had to be on this list. And even though she befriended one of her old assistants, Kim Kardashian, it didn't stop her from low-key bossing Kim around and even talking smack about her in her confessionals on her reality TV show. But one thing that Kim exposed about Paris is that for some really high-end purses, the ladies would walk around with them totally empty so that they wouldn't ruin the bag at all. But of course, someone has to hold her stuff, and that person would be none other than her assistant. And of course, there are some rare photos showing all the stuff that the assistants are carrying around, while Paris usually has a purse and a small dog to hold. And at number 8, Mike Myers. Mike Myers is someone who I've talked about before, and apparently his funny personality is not at all what he's like in real life, and he's incredibly rude to practically everyone. So obviously that attitude would translate over to how he treats his assistants, and he not only treats his own assistant badly, but he also is a complete pain in the ass to the PAs on the late night shows that he is on. One incident was when he was on Conan O'Brien's show, and he was seen bossing around the staff of that show, yelling at them to get him seltzer, Twizzlers, and creamer, which is firstly just super entitled, but secondly, who even asked for that combination of items? Who needs a seltzer and a creamer at the same time? And also the fact that he's bothering PAs who are incredibly busy even without Mike Myers harassing them makes the whole thing just even worse. And at number 7, Amber Heard. I didn't have Amber Heard in my last one, and a ton of you guys wanted to hear about her, so here it is. With the way that she treated her ex-husband Johnny Depp and her other past partners, it's a guarantee that she would be a nightmare to an assistant. And she is. Amber's former assistant Kate James exposed her in a legal deposition that was part of Johnny Depp's defamation lawsuit against her. According to the assistant, Amber would routinely, verbally, and mentally abuse her, usually while Amber was intoxicated with substances like MDMA, mushrooms, and wine, with Kate even saying that she would wake up on edge the morning after Amber's binges because it was common for her to get terrifying texts from Amber in the middle of the night while she was wasted, with Kate going on to say that her time working for Amber is a nightmare that she hopes she's one day able to recover from. And at number 6, Mel B. Apparently the former Spice Girl is a lot spicier than we ever would have thought, and her former assistant completely exposed her for being a shady person. Mel's former assistant was actually a former friend, which makes his treatment even more shocking. The former assistant, Gary Meditayan, filed a lawsuit against Mel after she apparently didn't pay him $200,000 while he worked as her hairstylist and personal assistant. And wow, that is a lot of money. Meditayan was also very close with Mel, but it was at the expense of his own personal life. And because he did literally everything for her, he had basically no life at all. And allegedly he couldn't see his friends or family. He also exposed some pretty dark stuff too, like how Mel at one point was drinking ridiculous amounts, and it caused her to be violent with her own kids. Gary said that at her lowest point, Mel would drink 3 bottles of wine a day and multiple tequila shots, which would make her delusional and paranoid. Halfway number 5, Gwyneth Paltrow. These two were once really good friends, so close they even lived together at one point, but everything ended once their careers got involved. Apparently both the ladies auditioned for the lead role in Shakespeare in Love, but Paltrow ended up snagging the role and then even went on to win Best Actress at the Oscars. It was even rumored that Paltrow only got the role because she stole the script from Winona when she saw it on their coffee table. Paltrow piled on the hate even more after Winona got in some trouble with the law for shoplifting. Paltrow wrote in a blog at that time, quote, "Back in the day I had a frenemy who was pretty hell-bent on taking me down. I restrained myself from fighting back. I tried to take the high road. But one day I heard that something unfortunate and humiliating happened to this person, and my reaction was deep relief and happiness." So clearly their relationship is still as bad as ever. In at number 4, Lauren Conrad. Heidi and Lauren were reality TV royalty back in the early 2000s when they starred in the hit show The Hills. Not only were they co-stars, they were also best friends. But in 2007, the friendship ended when Heidi Montag and her boyfriend Spencer Pratt spread a rumor that Conrad made an explicit tape with her boyfriend Jason. After the rumor was spreading like wildfire, Conrad commented on her website denying the rumors of a tape. In season 3 of The Hills, the fight about this topic came to a head, and the women got physical in one of the most epic reality TV fights of all time. It's still a sore spot for the entire cast. In at number 3, James Charles. James and Tati's falling out is probably one of the best examples of someone being exposed by their friend. Tati was an OG in the beauty community when James came up on the platform, and she decided to help him and give him advice when needed. From this, the pair became close friends, and James even did Tati's wedding makeup. Their friendship hit a snag when James did a brand deal for Sugar Bear Hair, a competitor to her brand Halo. But Tati publicly cut ties when she uploaded an explosive video by Sister, accusing James of toxic and illegal behavior. She claims that James was trying to, quote, manipulate someone's sexuality. She referenced a specific incident that went down in 2019 at her birthday party. At first, everyone was on Tati's side, and James lost a record number of YouTube subscribers. But then he made a clapback video, and those fans then turned on Tati and took his side. As of now, both their careers have suffered tremendously, and they both apologized for attacking each other online. In at number 2, Rihanna. Rihanna and Katy Perry used to be the best of friends and were constantly seen out together, but that all changed when men got involved. Apparently, the long friendship ended after Rihanna decided to get back with Chris Brown, who we know treated her horribly. Of course, an incident like that would worry any good friend. After Rihanna went back with him, Perry told Marie Claire, quote, "I didn't reach out to her after that incident." But Katy is not the only one that threw some shade. After Katy got flack for dating John Mayer after her divorce, Rihanna commented on that relationship, telling The Observer, quote, "Katy Perry can date anyone she wants. I could never give relationship advice to anybody." Clearly the subtext of that is her dating Chris Brown. But that's not all. It seems that Katy might have even tried to mend things when she said Rihanna is one of her dream American Idol judges. But Rihanna savagely responded to this saying, quote, "I don't know, depends how bored I am." And finally at number 1, Kylie Jenner. This is another story of a man getting in between friends. Kylie Jenner and Jordan Woods were besties since childhood, and they grew up doing practically everything together. They even lived together as adults, and Jordan starred in Kylie's reality series, Life of Kylie. Their relationship even gave Jordan employment opportunities with the family, including modeling opportunities with Khloe's clothing line. But that all changed after Jordan hooked up with Tristan Thompson, Khloe's baby daddy and boyfriend at the time. The whole thing was an absolute mess, and as a result, Jordan was cut from the family, including her friendship with Kylie. Jordan ended up going on Red Table Talk and claimed that the interaction she had with Tristan was small, but Khloe called her a liar on Twitter and claimed it was much more. She even blamed her for breaking up her family. Since then, Kylie and Jordan's relationship has not recovered, and Kylie now has a new best friend named Stassi.
Starting us off at number 10 is Jennifer Lopez. I never saw her as the bossy type, and for the most part she's always been praised for kindness throughout her career. But there is one story that has followed her throughout the years, and it's that she gave her new assistant a ridiculous amount of requirements. According to the HuffPost UK, she reportedly banned the staff working at her home from making eye contact with her. I personally think this is ridiculous, not to mention like humanly impossible. But Gawker also reported that she gave these requirements to her new assistant years back. Quote, "The person has to be graceful under pressure, have thick skin, and be resourceful in foreign countries. You'll be on call 24/7. You have to change diapers, work on little sleep, and cook if the butler is away. You have to know when JLo has her snack time. She won't say she's hungry, and you're expected to have food waiting." So if these crazy claims are true, then basically she's looking for a mom, a cook, and a mind reader who functions on no sleep. Coming up next, number 9 is Mariah Carey. There have been a handful of diva moments reported throughout her singing career, but one of them came from one of her former assistants, Isler Oliver. The story surfaced back in 2014 after she filed a lawsuit against Mariah for her controlling behavior. Some of the details in the case were reported online, and people were shocked to hear some of the ridiculous requirements her assistant claimed she had to follow. She testified that Mariah made her work 16-hour days, 7 days a week, and said that she was not paid overtime for her hours or even her lunch breaks. She was Mariah's assistant for 7 years, but eventually quit in 2007 and decided to get some compensation for her treatment. Her lawyer released a statement saying, "My client put her family's life on hold while tending to Mariah Carey's family, and Mariah repaid her by underpaying her." They ended up settling the lawsuit, but it is still unclear what money she received from that. Moving on to number 8, we have Christian Bale. The actor had the same assistant for over a decade, so people would assume they had a good relationship if they stuck around for that long. His assistant name was Harrison Chung, who ended up writing a biography about his time working for Bale. He described some of the things he had to do for the actor and how he ended up having to see a therapist after. He wrote, "I would do anything from sniffing Christian's armpits for BO right before he hit the red carpet to making emergency sock runs if Christian was all out of clean ones." He spoke with the Daily Mail about his time as an assistant and said that his therapist described his condition as post-traumatic stress disorder. I mean, I personally cannot imagine being a grown man having to go get another grown man a fresh pair of clean socks. And don't even get me started on the whole sniffing the armpits thing. That's disgusting. Although I'd probably sniff Miley Cyrus's armpits. Cruising into number 7 is Lady Gaga, another celebrity who had a lawsuit brought against them by their former assistant. Back in 2013, Lady Gaga's assistant, Jennifer O'Neill, filed a lawsuit for alleged unpaid overtime wages. In court documents that were released online, she said she was on call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. She also claimed that the two of them had to share a bed when Gaga was touring and that she was never given her own hotel room and privacy. And we all know that Gaga can't afford that. During their time working together, it appeared that they had a good relationship. But once the lawsuit came out, Gaga was caught saying some pretty harsh things about her once assistant. A screenshot showed her saying, "Jennifer is an effing hood rat who is suing me for money she didn't earn." Jennifer sued her for almost $400,000 in overtime pay plus further damages. They were set to go to trial, but then it was announced that the two of them came to a settlement, and then the lawsuit was dismissed. In spot number 6 is Naomi Campbell. Being an assistant to this supermodel would probably seem like a dream job for most people. But throughout her career, there have been incidents that would prove that it is not all glitz and glamour like we would probably think. One of the incidents is still famously known, and it goes back to 2001 when Naomi threw a phone at her assistant. The assistant claimed that she grabbed her by the arms and threw her down on a couch, and threw a phone at her. At first, this story might seem like a little too crazy to be true, but this was not the first time violent claims have come out about the model. 1 year before this claim, Naomi actually pleaded guilty to a separate assault charge in relation to beating an assistant. Then, down the road in 2016, she faced more legal action after she allegedly assaulted a former public school boy. He had worked for a PR firm and was drafted onto her team, which clearly did not go too well. So there are multiple reasons why people should not apply to be her assistant anymore. Like, I wouldn't have even applied after I found out about the first thing.
Halfway at number 5, Angelina Jolie. Honestly, having Angelina Jolie on this list is not a shocker because she seems like someone who would have some pretty strange demands. One assistant of Angelina's named Anna worked at their country estate in the south of France between 2008 and 2010. And apparently she saw Angelina and Brad fight all the time, and they would spend weeks living apart from each other. She also even said that she thought that Angelina was an alcoholic, with the assistant even claiming that when Angelina got too drunk, she would lock her 6 kids into one room. Anna even sued Angelina and Brad for $88,000 for wrongful termination after she took time off for an illness. Not great, Angelina and Brad. And at number 4, Lady Gaga. A few former assistants have spoken out against their terrible time working for Lady Gaga, with one of her assistants, Jennifer O'Neill, claiming that she was an actual monster. And apparently Gaga owed her roughly $400,000 in unpaid overtime during the 13 months that she worked for her. Apparently Jennifer would do literally everything for Gaga and was on call 24 hours a day. The lawsuit states that her duties included ordering Gaga's meals, making sure her outfits were on hand, the promptness of a towel following a shower, and serving as a personal alarm clock. The assistant Gaga had before that also had a terrible experience, with the assistant claiming that Gaga slept and took showers with her because she didn't like being alone. Honestly, that's what would be the nightmare for me. Like, not the long hours, but the fact that I have to sleep and shower with my boss. Like, I just need my personal space. Too much for that. And at number 3, Tony Robbins. Tony Robbins' personal assistant had a darker experience with him, and based on his public persona, it's something people would never expect. Kimberly Stokes, a former assistant, worked as Tony Robbins' live-in personal assistant and even shared her thoughts in a BuzzFeed article about him. She recalls one time where he walked into her bathroom while she was showering and dropped his towel, exposing himself. This wasn't the only time Robbins made a pass at her either. To make matters worse, Stokes was a survivor of as a child, and Robbins knew that. Another former assistant named Kate said she considered seeing Robbins naked as a part of her job, but also saw his teachings as life transforming. And the fact that multiple people have made accusations against him proves that this is really just like a bigger issue for him altogether. And at number 2, J-Lo. This one is not a shock at all to me, because I have covered tons of times how J-Lo is one of the meanest people ever. Her demands are also the most degrading, with her insisting that her employees don't talk to her or even look at her. One of the job descriptions for her assistant was actually obtained, and it read, must have thick skin, be graceful under pressure, resourceful in foreign countries. They must be on call 24/7, be able to change diapers, work on little sleep, and cook if the butler is away. And if you're J-Lo's personal assistant, you have to know when it's J-Lo's snack time. Even though she won't actually say when she's hungry, like, you just are always expected to have food waiting and know when she wants to eat. And finally, number 1, Mariah Carey. Is anyone surprised that the biggest diva in the entire music industry is on this list? Because I am certainly not. The assistant named Liana was Mariah's assistant for 2 years, until she was wrongfully fired in 2017, which led her to sue Mariah. According to a lawsuit that she filed and a 32-page complaint, she was on call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for both Mariah and her former manager. It seems that Mariah's former manager, Stella Stoppler, was a huge part of the problem, and she subjected the assistant to tons of like using racial slurs when talking about her. But there were also completely disgusting things that happened there too. And allegedly Mariah's manager tackled her to the ground and then urinated on her. Liana's lawsuit alleges that Mariah knew about the abuse and was even present for a lot of it, but still allowed it to go on. After she complained, she was fired 1 month later. And this is just so insane and nasty, but also I really don't know why that assistant would want to stay working for someone that would do that to her, right? Like, instead of suing her for wrongful termination, She should probably sue her for like workplace harassment or something instead. So that's all for the list, guys, but let me know what you're thinking about it down below. Which celebrity do you think was the worst, and who did I miss that could be in a part 2? Because I'm sure there is like so many more stories.